In this video, I'm going to go through a bunch of things. It may feel overwhelming, but once you have agreed on the parameters and design, I can create more tutorials to slow things down learning-wise and also to focus on specifics. Within a month of using the software, things are going to feel like second nature to you. So let's start by taking a look at the general layout to make sure your text is formatted and displayed the way you want it. The marquee you see here is linked to a spreadsheet you see here. Here on the spreadsheet, you're going to input the artist name. You're going to want to limit yourself to 43 characters. This will make sure that you do not exceed 2 lines on the marquee. You're going to input the show date and the show time. The sort date won't appear on the marquee, but it's a useful tool to know which bands will list first and also which bands to delete. Once you make a change to the spreadsheet, you're going to want to make sure you always include 6 bands at the minimum. And when you delete, you're going to want to right-click delete and not hit your delete key. This will delete the rows permanently. So I select everything like that. Right-click, delete. Still show my 6 bands, and I deleted the cells permanently. If you just hit the delete button, the signage software is going to still think that there's data in those rows. So I'm going to save my spreadsheet here. And now I only have May 6th to the 14th. I'm going to go look back at my display. Again, it's going to take a minute after you save that spreadsheet to update the marquee. So just give it a second to reflect the changes. Again, it's just May 6th through the 14th, and then it'll repeat back at May 6th. And there you see that our marquee has accepted the spreadsheet changes. We are now going to publish. I don't have a Spinetics hooked up here, but your player would appear here, and you hit publish again, and that's going to send this data to the player. Going back to your spreadsheet, again, if you just select these people and hit your delete button and then save, we'll go back to the display and see what kind of error we're going to show. It's not always going to happen, but it still might have a tendency to show blank data. Again, if you do see blank data on your marquee, go back to your spreadsheet, select a bunch of records, physically the whole records, and right-click delete. Save your spreadsheet. Then go back. As you can see, we've generated the error on the marquee. As you see, we're sort of buried within the menus here. We're in the content folder. To get back to the first layer of your project, you can always just hit your project name here. In your index page, that's the page that's going to be sent out to your digital display. To see your index page, just double click that. We see our index page should have published back from the spreadsheet again, and we can see that that data has now got cleared up because we deleted the rows. So if you look in the spreadsheet parameters, the way we have designed the spreadsheet is to show 3 rows per display at 5 seconds. So it's going to show 3 rows for 5 seconds and move on to the next 3 rows, depending on how many bands we have listed on our spreadsheet. So that's why I'm saying it's a good idea to always at least have 6, so it could do 2 rotations and then come back. If you only have 2, it has really nothing to rotate to, so it's gonna look weird. So always have 6. And also you're gonna want to know what your duration or what your rotation is, and how to figure that out is go to your spreadsheet and notice how many bands you have. So we are going to have 24 bands on our spreadsheet. Okay, so then looking at how we set up our player, if there's 24 bands and there's 3 rows displayed at a time, so 3 divided by 24 is 8 times 5. That's telling us that's 40 seconds before we rotate our bands again. So if we look at our spreadsheet, we have 24 bands. We're going to save. We go back into our marquee. So as you see, Once you make spreadsheet changes, go back into the player and just make sure that the marquee has accepted your spreadsheet. As we see, it has now. We're now into our June dates. June 19th is Marvin Kate, our last one before the May 6th rotation pops up again. Okay, and as you see, it did. So why is it important to know that 40 seconds? That 40 seconds, it's our marquee is going to rotate. It's going to take 40 seconds until we see the rotation again. Do we want customers to see a few rotations before we play something else? Then we need to know that 40 seconds. So right now it doesn't matter because the only thing we're playing is the marquee, so it doesn't matter. But now let's say we want to add content on top of that marquee. So what you're going to want to do in that situation, you want to create content in your content creator that is a resolution of 1920 by 1080. That's full high res that will fill up your whole monitor. So you create content at that resolution and save it. If you're just making a still, save it as a JPEG or a PNG. If you're making a video, you would save it as MP4 or .mov. Once it's saved and you know where that location is, go back into Elementy. And the way I've built your player is you have a content folder. So just double click your content folder. Go on your desktop, create 2 slides, drag them into the content folder. Again, see we're buried in here, so I just hit your project name and we're back and hit index, so we're back at the beginning. So now we have the content in here, but we need to drag it into a playlist. So another folder I created is called playlist, and this is called content. So I open that. There's nothing in here. So this is where you're going to want to drag your content into the playlist. So keep this open, and then again just hit your project name, go into your content folder, hold down shift, select 2, drag them in there. Now the way we set up this playlist is it's going to crossfade between slides, it's going to loop, and each slide's going to play for 5 seconds. All this can be changed however you want. And we're going to edit out of there. So now we have a playlist created of 2 slides. Now the trick part is we want to display that marquee and then rotate these 2 slides. So what we want to do is we want to add a transparency slide to reveal the marquee for a certain amount of time and then play those 2 slides. So that's why it's important to know the 40 seconds. I know it takes at least 40 seconds before the bands can rotate again. So if I want to guarantee 2 rotations, I would say 80 seconds. So I'm going to have a transparency slide for 80 seconds. So unfortunately, Elementy doesn't have a transparent slide. So we have got to sort of create one by creating a text layer here and clicking on the settings. We're going to specify it to last 40 seconds, or if we wanted 2 rotations, again I said 80 seconds. So we'll say 40 seconds. Then we want to edit the text, and we don't want text. We're going to make this a transparency layer, and we drag it to the top of your playlist. So what it's saying is 40 seconds, I'm going to be transparent, and then I'm going to play this slide, and then go back to this slide. So for the sake of the video, let's just make the transparency 10 seconds. So now we go back to our main page and double click the index. Guess we want to save. So we have that playlist created, but we haven't scheduled the playlist. So you're not going to see this playlist until you double click the scheduler, loads up today's date. We go into that playlist that we created, the content playlist, drag it onto the scheduler. Today's date is May 22nd at 3:27 p.m. So we're just going to schedule this playlist from 3:50 a.m. to 11:59 p.m. and we'll save it. So there's our 2 slides and then our transparency. So now let's go see how that looks. Again, we're going to leave the scheduler by hitting our project name, double-clicking index. And there you go. You have 2 slides rotating 5 seconds each, and then playing your transparency slide, which is going to reveal the marquee.